three places to fish whenever it gets hot outside. When it gets hot, then bass can get tricky to catch when it's not in those real big feeding times, the morning time and, later in the evening. And so if you kind of get stuck midday fishing, can't catch nothing, three places that I would go to is number one, docks. And what I would use is, of course, I would always use a tube. But you don't have to only use a tube, you can use other Texas rig soft plastics like Senkos, crawls, especially if you can skip them underneath. That is where, because the docks are going to cast shade, and that shade is always going to cool the bass down. And also there's a lot of bait fish around docks. Another thing I'd use around the docks is a jig, casting it up under there, and as well as skipping a frog up underneath it. Some big bites come for that, especially early morning. The second place I would go to is grass. Any kind of grass, especially the thicker grass, and you'll kind of see whenever you're like flipping and pitching that kind of stuff, there's, you kind of want to go for that thickest stuff that you can get because it's going to create the most shade, and that's where the bass are going to sit, the thickest, darkest looking areas. And you can fish jigs, you can do other Texas rigs, also frogs. Frogs are amazing in the grass, as you know. So and the last place I would go to is stand-in timber, bushes, that kind of stuff, especially up shallow, where you can skip jigs, frogs around. Shoot, you can even use tubes around it. But also I love to use a spinnerbait whenever it's more cloudy, more windy days. Spinnerbait, bouncing off the wood, and also a buzzbait bouncing off the wood is really, really good and really key. But those are the three places that I always like to go to. And also, if it gets really, really, really tough, I love to use a big worm like this. This is a 6-cents ridge worm. So, the big worms are always good. And if it gets really, really, really tough, go small. You know what I mean? Like these little bitty, this is a Rapala. This is a UL Shad 04. I don't know what that is. I think it's probably from Walmart, but these little bitty lures has actually caught me a lot of fish, especially, when the bass don't really want to eat that well. These little bitty lures can sometimes trigger that reaction, or, sometimes the big lures can trigger them as well. So hope this does help y'all. See ya.